What's up, everybody? It's Just Thunder, and today we're going to take a look at the Chaos Studios 112 Chaos National Defender figure. Now, I don't see any reason to be cutesy about this. We know who this is supposed to be. This is a Dark Knight Returns Superman done in kind of a realistic, stylized version. And, well, it's freaking awesome. Let's just put it that way. Keep it simple. Now, a little bit of background on how this came to be. Chaos Studios is an offshoot of Muff Toys. And if you have purchased any of the replacement Batfleck heads, which I have and think are also excellent, or their Not James Bond figure, or anything else Muff Toys has done, you know they do extremely high quality work. And I think the intention here of this Chaos Studios offshoot is it's kind of a subline of sorts to let them do more comic stylized stuff, whereas most of the Muff Toys stuff tends to lean more cinematic and realistic. That's my impression. At least I know the connection between Muff Toys and Chaos Studios is a thing, but that's what I know. Also, the base body is at least in part an Atom body, which is something I haven't covered on this channel yet, but I probably will. We'll talk about it more in articulation. Let's start with the head sculpts, though. First up would be this LED heat vision head, which you activate via magnet. There's a magnet hidden in the Dark Knight helmet, or you can just use a regular magnet to do it. Looks really good in low light especially. Actually even looks good without the effect going, but I think I'd have to say I prefer of the variants this gritted teeth head. This feels like a live action Frank Miller head in practice. It's very impressive. There's also, of course, a Stoic head, which I will show here in a second. There you are. But I'm also going to go over the articulation while I'm at it. But just know that Stoic head is great. So as we get into this Atom body, and I say mostly Atom body because I think the chest is proprietary to this Superman design. So we've got some basic neck articulation, not too bad. He's just big, so I think it blocks some of the range of motion there. But, I mean, you can get a tilt. You can look up and down a bit. You have a big, solid, chunky, ball-jointed shoulder. No butterfly joint, but here you can see the bicep swivel. And there is a double-jointed elbow. Again, just limited by the size of his arms, really. Then you see a standard kind of Mezco-style ball-jointed wrist that allows you to swap out the hands. He has two excellent torso joints. I'm trying to bend just the top one here at the rib cage to give you an idea there, and then you can take the lower, more waist joint down to take him into a further crunch. Also go back quite a bit. You may notice that the suit is stitched together right there. It's a little thing, but just so you're aware of it. It stays in place, but just know it's there. But good range forward and back, I would say. Despite having rubberized trunks, his hip range is still really, really good. As you saw, forward and out is good. And a pretty decent double-jointed knee. Again, this actually feels slightly limited by design, more so than just by his size. What I really like is how these boots have been done. That's a sleeve over the shin, but check out that ankle joint in there that's recessed into the boot socket. It's perfect. That's probably the best way I've seen that done. And it sort of counts as articulation. You'll see there is a wire that runs through the cape here. It does kind of, you have to kind of finick with it a little bit to keep it on top of his shoulders. It's obviously because that wire doesn't want to lay down there, but it does pretty well on the edges of the cape. So I can't say it's a bad thing there. Overall, for a bulky Superman, I think it's got all the articulation I need. And when I say he's big and bulky, I mean he's big and bulky. He comes in just about 7 inches to the top of his head, but it's not just the size, because as you can see, most Mezcos are about 6.5, so he's only half an inch taller. It's just the sheer mass of this guy. As you can see here, he is towering over the Man of Steel Superman, which admittedly I think is a little on the short side if I'm being fair. But, even next to Supreme Knight Batman, who's pretty large, he's still significantly bigger. And, really height-wise, for Dark Knight Superman, I think this is on scale. I mean, he's basically up to the top of Batman's head comes to Superman's nose. Here he is with the Stab of Hades and the Arkham Knight third-party figures. I have now forgotten who made those. Stab of Hades, I think, is using that GW Toys body, and as you can see, he's almost same scale, really. Similar in mass too, really. I mean, obviously the Atom body is bigger, it's bulkier, and Slade makes up his difference in armor, but I'd say these scale really nicely, which is something I wasn't really planning on or expecting. One thing that definitely is obvious between the two, though, is just the quality of that Atom body. The joints are so much tighter, and there's no slop in it. There's no wiggle in that figure, whereas the Stab of Hades figure doesn't feel quite as nicely made. Good as it is, it's just that good in the presence of great sort of thing. And here's that Arkham Knight Batman again, where you can see height-wise, he is just a little taller than the Supreme Knight, probably about 6 7/8, and that puts him about to Superman's eyebrows, which again would be a good scale for possibly the Dark Knight Detective figure when that one comes out, if it's if there's some changes to be made. That's the Batman for this line, in case you weren't sure. Here he is with the BMS Toys Return of the King, which is, of course, Kingdom Come Superman, who is about 6 7/8, if I remember right, and that should be, I think that's a V-Toy Zero body under there. Still a great figure, but he just looks a lot smaller by comparison now. And then, because the first thing that this reminded me of was the Masters body Mattel DC Multiverse Superman, here is a Masterverse He-Man who doesn't scale as well as I would have expected, but a good indicator of how he is definitely closer to 1/12 scale than the 1/10 scale that Mattel seems to be doing those Masterverse figures in. And this is really only tangentially related to what we're talking about here, but I'm now thinking twice about not wanting to get that 1/12 Mondo He-Man they're doing. I might be getting that after all. Coming back around to the last of the accessories, obviously you have multiple hands included. There are 2 fists, 2 gripping hands, 2 kind of relaxed gripping hands, and a specialty hand, which I'll show after this one. One of the grippy hands in particular, the left one, is designed, well, I should say this helmet is designed to fit into that molded hand perfectly. So, to recreate the scene where he rips Bruce's mask off in their penultimate confrontation at the end of the book. The other left specialty hand is included to hold the Kryptonite arrow, which you can see it doing here very nicely. Also, just kind of a nice small grip hand for, gesturing and things like that, which is a good thing because this figure is incredibly expressive. In damn near any pose or with any of the head sculpts on it, it conveys a presence that's kind of hard to describe. So the good news is this figure is incredible. I know there's been a few people who have had some smaller QC issues. Luckily, mine has had none of those. The one thing I didn't take pictures of that I should mention is how the cape attached to the figure. There are 2 notches on the chest, kind of about in line with the S shield, where you would plug the cape into. It has 2 little plastic plugs on it. Good idea in theory. Didn't quite work in practice, doesn't want to stay in place, so like everybody else, I glued mine in, but that's just something you should be aware of. That's not really a QC thing, that's just something that, I don't know, like I said, good idea, just didn't quite take. So with that said, there's really nothing about this figure I don't recommend. Unfortunately, my understanding is this has sold out just about everywhere, which I should have bought 2. I'll be honest with you, I probably should have picked up a second. I should have ordered it when I had the chance. I even thought about it then, but it's essentially a new line, new figure, and sort of new company, so I was a little on the fence. And honestly, I was a little bit concerned about the scale to begin with. In a perfect world, I think 6 7/8 would be the height I'd want him at, but my resistance to that being 7 inches tall thing has eroded very, very, very quickly. He just has such sheer presence, I can't argue with the size. Now, as long as their Dark Knight Detective comes in just a teeny bit shorter to kind of balance the scales, I think you've got a winning formula here. So the hope is maybe we'll get to see a re-release of this guy in time for that Batman figure. I got mine from VC Toy Box, but I have the other figure on order with, I think I've got one with Toy Metaverse, and Empire Toys is the other one I believe I've ordered with. But I've also done ordering with, 5K Toys. Really, a lot of these guys that we follow on Instagram have done a great job getting these third-party figures to market and doing it quickly and at decent prices. So, any of those I mentioned, VC Toy Box, Toys Metaverse, 5K Toys, Empire Toys is new to me, but I've heard good things. But all those guys I'd recommend going forward. I think that's going to cover it. Like I said before, I get really scatterbrained when I get excited. You guys think it's funny, but that's just how I operate when I do reviews. So thank you for watching, and I'm looking forward to see what these guys do next. Laters.